Good morning, friends. Mr. Lalit Bhasin, Mr. Syed Badruddin, Mr. Stephen White, Dr. Vivek Lal, Mr. Aaron Shildaz, Mr. Mark Cronenberg, Mr. Gautam Mahajan, Mr. R.K. Chopra, Mr. Vikas Vasan, and distinguished friends. Let me, at the outset, first thank most sincerely Mr. Lalit Bhasin, who called up just a few hours, if I may say so, ago during the weekend when I was holidaying in Dehradun, to say that I have to come today at 10 o'clock. And I requested him that today at 10:30 we have the commission meeting when our cases are fixed. Tuesdays 10:30 we have the commission meetings and we wouldn't like to delay it. But as we all know, it's very difficult to say no to Mr. Lalit Bhasin, and I greatly admire him for his various professional capacities, his achievements and his warmth, and I'm really grateful to him for giving me this opportunity, because Indo-US Economic Forum, as he mentioned, is the premier body, and to be here to meet old friends, and I can see so many of them here today, is itself a privilege. Friends, he has been too generous in his introductory remarks for me, but I would start off by saying that we are at the cusp of history at the moment. As he mentioned, I happened to be in Washington, D.C. when all those major developments and economic turmoil took place, and I had occasion to see them at close quarters when over a weekend you could see the major pillars of Indian economy being affected so adversely, which nobody could expect at that time. And the subsequent events which unfolded the world over. And being on the World Bank board, and IMF right across the street, one could have a feeling that something wrong was going on, but not to this extent. But I'm very happy that Indian economy has remained relatively less affected, I won't say immune, in the present globally interconnected economic world. It's not possible to remain immune, but the rate of growth has remained generally satisfactory, not that badly affected, and Indian economy has shown resilience. And now we can say that it's poised for a much accelerated growth, and it has been proved by various studies, and I've yet to see the KPMG study, that Indian economy will be playing a significant role in the upswing of the global economy, and with our demographic dividend, with the democratic institutions and various other positive features, I'm sure that we are bound to see a lot of spurt in investments both into India and from India to outside world. And as a result, there is going to be a big spurt in cross-border acquisitions, mergers, consolidations, and so on. In this particular background, we have to view what an institution like Competition Commission of India, the role it can play. It's a relatively new institution for India, and I know that our friends from the United States, they've seen FTC and US DOJ and what they've been doing in Microsoft and Ma Bell, Baby Bell, and all other institutions for decades. In Europe also we have been watching what has been happening elsewhere. For India, it's a relatively new animal. But let me first and at the outset assure you that this institution, which has been set up by the government, as was mentioned by my friend Mr. Lalit Bhasin in 2002, but it's really come into full effect only last year, and I happen to have the privilege of being the first chairman, and there are 6 members now, and we are recruiting professionals. We've already recruited almost 50 of them, and another 100 plus are in the process of recruitment. We are in the process of capacity building and also setting up our systems and procedures. And we believe, as it's true with most of the other Indian institutions, that sunshine is the best disinfectant. And therefore everything has to be done in a transparent manner with full public consultation, with all the stakeholders. And in that spirit, most of our regulations and systems and procedures are being finalized. Government has so far notified Section 3 and 4, Section 3 of the Competition Act, which relates to anti-competitive agreements, and Section 4, which relates to abuse of dominance. These two have been notified, and their regulations also. And we are receiving a number of references or information, as we call them, not complaints or cases, and these are under active consideration, several of them at the moment. But Section 5 and 6, which relate to mergers and acquisitions, the takeovers and consolidations, are yet to be notified, but the stage is set now for these sections also to be notified soon. And in the meanwhile, we have almost finalized our regulations, which would be placed on the website soon to attract, to invite any comments on them, so that we could take into account any last-minute suggestions, which we will do in the weeks to come. There have been some concerns in the minds of industry, which I'll briefly address in my short few minutes of interaction with you. For example, it was felt that why should there be a compulsory notification under the Competition Act, particularly when there is a period of 210 days maximum time limit stipulated for clearances under the Competition Act. Well, one point which I must point out here is that we have not really viewed Section 5 and 6 in their correct perspective. Because if two firms, A and B, were to join hands through a process of either consolidation or takeover of the control or whatever, then under Section 3 or 4, anybody, a competitor or a private person, could approach the Competition Commission of India, and they can challenge that this is either anti-competitive, this combination, or this is resulting in a dominant undertaking which could result in abuse of dominance, which has to be proved by a number of factors. Now, in such a situation, the Competition Commission of India can look at those situations, and under Section 28 of the Competition Act could even order their division. And we have seen in the case of United States what happened at the time of Bell, when it was divided by the antitrust watchdog into a number of units, and we have also seen the subsequent developments in the growth thereafter. So even without Section 5 and 6, there could be litigation in the Competition Commission. However, Section 5 and 6 of the Competition Act, when it is notified, it would provide an avenue to the concerned parties to get some kind of a clearance or a certificate or a positive verdict that it's not anti-competitive, and therefore any such situation eventuality may not take place. And we know what happened in United States before the passage of the HSR Act, when there used to be a spate or a flurry of litigations by private parties before the compulsory notification came into being. So we hope, and this was very clearly brought out in the Raghavan Committee report, which was the basis of the passage of the Competition Act. So therefore, I wanted to underline that Section 5 and 6, once it is notified, it would act as a positive instrumentality available to the industry, including the cross-border acquisitions and mergers, to get a speedy clearance from the Competition Commission, which would be like an insurance, I don't want to use the word, for any such eventuality subsequently. Let me also mention that this 210 days, which is sometimes cited as too long a period to get this clearance, is the maximum period available after which it would be deemed to have been cleared. In our regulations, which you would be seeing on the website after a few days, we have tried to take care of these concerns in several ways. That majority of the cases would be put on some kind of fast-track mechanism, almost 90 to 95%, which would be cleared within 30 days, and remaining where some additional information might have to be sought. They might take longer than 30 days, and therefore it should be reasonable to expect that there would be a regime for implementation of the acquisitions, mergers and so on, which would be industry friendly. Although most of the competition watchdogs in the world do not like to be called as industry friendly, and if a competition watchdog is industry friendly, it's supposed to be not discharging its functions properly. But in the making of this body, that's our intention, to act as an accelerator of our industrial growth, both organic and inorganic, rather than a roadblock. So we don't want to be seen as a brake for growth, but as an accelerator of growth, and that's the intention through which we are trying to formulate our regulation, our systems and procedures. There are several other concerns which have been voiced from time to time in different fora, including the element of fee, that it was too excessive, although we have seen similar provisions in various other statutes, United States, Europe, elsewhere, and it's not really that much fees for such situations, but we are taking care of that in our regulations, and there also we might possibly like to have some kind of a graduated system by which for faster clearances it could be much less. We are also trying to take care of some of the other concerns for smaller acquisition of shares or acquisition from right issues or intra-group acquisitions or creeping acquisitions and smaller takeovers and so on. We might put them either on fast track or make things like easier for them. The point I'm trying to make is, without mentioning at this stage what's going to be in the regulations, because these are yet to be finalized in the Commission, that the intention would be to make the regulations as facilitative for growth and for such acquisitions and takeovers both within India and outside as much as possible. I'm sure those of you who have been having experience of such cross-border takeovers and acquisitions might have interacted with similar other watchdogs all over the world. And therefore, you would be quite familiar with the systems and procedures therein. And I can only tell you that in dealing with the Competition Commission of India, you would find the experience to be rather pleasant and friendly. We are also considering to introduce some kind of pre-merger consultation. So as a result, if somebody wishes to come over to us to seek informal guidance from our officers, then there could be a possibility of doing that. So those are the kind of things we are considering. I'm not saying that they have been finalized, as I said, but the intention, the objective, the direction is there, and therefore I wanted to reassure the members of this Indo-US forum today that this new animal will not be obstructive in any way. And although for any such acquisitions takeover, you have to deal with a number of other bodies like SEBI or Company Law Board or High Court and so on, and those of you who are lawyers and actually involved in these things know the procedures involved. So this another institution which would also be involved in the whole exercise would not only be not adding to any further to the time involved, but also possibly be useful in several ways. And with these words, I once again wish to thank Mr. Lalit Bhasin, my good old friend, and all of you for giving me this opportunity, and extend my greetings and good wishes to you for the next 2 days of very fruitful deliberations. It's a pleasure to be associated during the inaugural session. Once again, thank you.